Welcome into another episode of the Lucas and Lucas podcast alongside Lucas Frankel. As always, I am Mike Lucas. It is March 18th. The tournament starts in just a few hours, but Frankel insisted on starting with the Brooklyn Nets. Winners of 6 in a row. They're 14-1 in their last 15 games, Frank. They came back from down double digits to beat Indiana last night, and you texted me and said, I have so many hot Nets takes. I got to spit hot fire. So take it away, Frank. What do you got? And I know you're as excited as I am. So the floor is yours, my friend.
I am just so blown away. But from what I've seen over this team over the past 15 games, their only loss was on February 27th to the Mavericks in a game that Kyrie missed. So actually going into the game against the Pacers, once I heard that Kyrie was out, I kind of thought it was just a throwaway game. And then to see them down 15 points at the end of the first quarter, I honestly brushed the game away. I was like, all right, it's a throwaway game. It's unfortunate that, we had a chance to tie the Sixers for the best record in the East tonight, but I just sort of crumbled it up and threw it away. But James Harden, like he's done since the moment he's come to Brooklyn, just put on an absolute clinic. 40 points, 15 assists, 10 rebounds, just the second ever 40-point triple-double in team history. Only other was the great Vince Carter, you guessed it, in 2007. He now has 11 triple-doubles this season, one shy of Jason Kidd's franchise record for a single season. It is absurd. He came in like a month and a half into the season, and he's done this in just a short amount of time. I actually caved this morning. I put $10 on James Harden to win MVP at plus 1,200. I am just utterly blown away by what he has done, and I cannot say enough great things about James Harden. Listen, I'm not crying the Nets. They haven't won anything yet, but my level of excitement for watching the Nets basketball has never been this high in my lifetime.
He's plus 1,200 on the MVP odds?
Well, he was plus 3,000 a couple weeks ago when I first started talking about it. And I just feel like right now, listen, Joel Embiid's out another 2 to 3 weeks with his knee injury. Kevin Durant is missing in action. LeBron James is playing really well. And listen, and when push comes to shove, he is the most valuable player in the NBA just based on talent and the way he's able to transform a team. And Jokic's obviously doing what he's got to do, and Giannis is coming on strong here, and I'm kind of worried that he actually may end up winning this thing to get two. But in terms of MVP right now, with Kevin Durant out, what he has done, James Harden, in this run over the past 15 games, 14-1, he's been there every single game while Kyrie, has his maintenance day or goes through whatever issue he's going through. James Harden is so reliable. He brings it every game. He is the team just feeds off him. He is the leader. And listen, when push comes to shove, that may end up burning the Nets because if James Harden's your guy and in the playoffs and he chokes, then you're screwed. But either way, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Right now, he is playing at a level that I have never seen in my time watching Nets basketball. Jason Kidd, I don't even know who you are anymore. James Harden?
Oh, stop it. It was a different era of basketball back then when the Nets scored 100 points. In the Jason Kidd era, it was a fantastic offensive game. If they don't score 120 now, it's a disappointment. Just a different era of basketball. I did not watch the Pacers game last night, but I did watch the entirety of the Knicks-Nets game on, is that Sunday night when they played? Monday night?
It was Monday. It was
Monday. Harden is one of those guys, and they're very, very, very few in the history of the NBA, that even when they decide to be more passive instead of aggressive offensively in terms of shooting the ball, can still be the most impactful guy in the court. You think of LeBron as a guy who can do that. Jokic is a guy who can do that. Even Giannis to an extent because of his defensive abilities and his ability to draw in double teams. But you remember Kobe when he was mad at the media and the team for saying he was too much of a ball hog, so he passed that whole game, and next thing you know, the Lakers were getting smoked because they had no one who could score. Well, Harden doesn't do that. Harden has a way of drawing defenses in and finding guys in the right spot at the right time. His ability to throw the lob pass is almost second to none. Luka Doncic is up there. Some of the lob passes he threw against the Clippers on Wednesday night were beyond impressive. He actually had one scoop pass. I don't know if you saw that game to Tim Hardaway. That Hardaway missed the dunk, but it would have been the play of the year in my mind. But yeah, Harden is every bit as advertised. There's a reason he is a top 3 finisher in the MVP 4 or maybe even 5 times. I could be wrong. I think it's 5 actually. There's a reason he has won the most valuable player in the league award. And yeah, was Houston's offense completely tailored around what he does well? Yeah, but it's because he's so damn good at it. Why wouldn't you do it? So the Nets have more options offensively to not have to force feed Harden 45 points a game to compete. And I think it's actually unlocked the best version of Harden we've ever seen, where he could go for 27 on 15 shots, but also set up elite shooters like Kyrie and Joe Harris. And I wouldn't call TLC an elite shooter, but Durant's in that category, and Shamit's a good like the pieces they have around him have unlocked his complete full offensive potential. And at 1,200 odds, Frank, I think $10 is a pretty solid bet, to be honest. I still don't think he'll win it. I think voters will hold what he did in Houston to start the season against him. But at the same time, he has been the most valuable player on the Nets as they've gone from middle of the East to top of the East, and all the other top candidates are dealing with some sort of either injury or slump. So yeah, Harden's right in that conversation, man. And Giannis is the other guy I'd be scared of. And same with Doncic too. They both skyrocketed as of late, but at 1,200 odds, like $10 is not a bad bet.
Yeah, I mean, what he's doing is just absolutely absurd right now. But last point on the Nets, real quick. How do you think Kevin Durant is sort of taking what's going on right now? You know, because the whole narrative in Golden State was, you know, he wanted it to be his team and his guys, and he wanted to be the focal point of that team, the face of it. But he was never able to get past Steph Curry, and that may or may not have been the ultimate downfall into why he left. I just heard Cowher talking about this. I thought it was just worth bringing up. How do you think Kevin Durant, when he's watching, because he's been at the games, watching this, how do you think he's taking this?
Mm-hmm. So in Golden State, I think he thought he could surpass Steph Curry as the face of the franchise, but that was an unattainable task. Golden State will be loyal to Steph until the day Steph dies. In Brooklyn, I don't know if they have that guy yet. And I think Durant at the moment is still number one on that hierarchy, only because he was the catalyst that then brought in Kyrie and then brought in James Harden, and then allegedly was the number one recruiter in bringing in Blake Griffin, which is not the same caliber, but he's the guy that people are coming to Brooklyn for, as opposed to him, Durant, going to join Steph Curry in Golden State. So we haven't seen him play enough, all three of the big three together, to realize, quote unquote, whose team it is. I still think Durant's the best player of the three. And I think Steph in 2017, 2018 was better than James Harden is right now in the hierarchy of best players in the league. So I still think it's Durant's team. And I still think it'll be viewed as his team because he was the recruiter. But I do agree with Cowherd, and if you agree with Cowherd's point, that the longer he sits and the longer they thrive without him, his stranglehold on that top position starts to loosen.
I hope that that ego from Durant is just gone. Like, it's not about, like, it shouldn't be about that anymore. And I hope that he is matured enough to the point where that will not be an issue. But I can't imagine it being an issue. But famous last words. All right, NCAA Tournament begins with the first four later Thursday evening with 4 games on the slate. But Mike, let's just get right into the bracket. I filled out my first bracket a few hours ago. Extremely, extremely painful. I do not enjoy the process one bit because I just know that I'm just signing up to lose a lot, and I don't enjoy losing. But I have my final 4 picks locked in. I'll let you go first here. When all said and done, who are your final 4 teams?
I have Gonzaga, Alabama, I have Baylor, and I have Illinois. It is a boring,
the only difference for me
boring Final Four. If you like upsets, I have a couple upsets.
I have Texas instead of Alabama in that spot.
I have Texas losing in the first round. So, yikes.
Hey, listen, you tell me anything, then yeah, I could buy that. But that's the
do you have any? All right. So, are we in agreement that Gonzaga is the best team in the country, bar none?
Like, I'm not sure I'm following the question.
That it's Gonzaga's tournament to lose?
No, I wouldn't say that. No, they don't listen. They had a couple, they played a couple good teams in December, but I don't know. I mean, listen, Gonzaga's probably going to win it all, but I have Illinois winning it all. That's my pick.
That's the smart pick if you're trying to make money because there's no value in Gonzaga.
I can't with good faith have Gonzaga winning. With their schedule, I know they played Iowa earlier in the year, and that was pretty much their lone,
They beat Kansas. They beat Virginia.
Virginia's garbage.
I'm just saying it's not like they didn't play anybody. They did play some real schools.
So the only like real quote unquote upset that I foresee happening is Winthrop beating Villanova. Villanova without Gillespie is just a complete shell of who they used to be. But yeah, I'm just expecting to lose a lot, and like I said, I don't enjoy that. But
You want one lock? You want one lock today?
Well,
Take the under in UCLA, Michigan State. That's a lock.
Okay, that'll do it for our tournament talk. Obviously, unless
Can I plug something real quick, Frank?
Sure.
If you want more tournament picks, go to my Twitter. I did a betting podcast the other day with some guys down here. So if you want a more in-depth betting podcast analysis, check the Bet the FCS podcast.
But speaking of bets, there's one bet that I saw. It's on only saw it on William Hill. Which team will advance further, Baylor or Michigan? Baylor's -120, Michigan is -110. That is the lock of the century. It is Baylor, and it is not close. Michigan is the most fraudulent 1 seed I have seen in the NCAA tournament since Virginia lost. I think that's my big honest. I think the one major upset I have here, let me just double check my bracket. I have Michigan losing in round 2 to St. Bonnie's.
LSU. Oh, to St. Bonnie's. Wow. Okay. I had LSU beating Michigan in round 2. So that means it's not going to happen. That means it's not going to happen. That means it's not going to happen. We just jinxed ourselves.
That means Michigan's going to the Final Four, and we will look at ourselves in a week and be like, we are the dumbest human beings in the face of the. And then listen, I don't care. I'm over it. I am so over it. But it is
little fun story for the viewers out there. Back in college, Frankel picked Georgetown to win it all, and it was I believe they played on Friday night, and we were all in the studio producing our college sports show, and they lost to Florida Gulf Coast, and Franco just went MIA. And it's one of my favorite Franco moments ever. So I sorry to bring up a bad memory, Frank. No one could have seen a 2 losing to a 15 in that situation, but my, oh my, was that funny.
Great. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Let's move on to actual things that matter. The National Football League, Bill Belichick, after the Patriots went 7-9, then he had to see Tom Brady celebrate with a Super Bowl. Clearly had blood and ice in his veins going up to the offseason, and just went absolutely rogue, signing Judon, pass rusher from the Ravens, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Nelson Aguilar, Jalen Mills, Kendrick Bourne. They brought back Kyle Van Noy, which is turns out to be a very weird move that he pulled off last year. I guess he knew the Patriots were just tanking, or I don't know what he thought. By the way, he's back in New England. They also traded for Trent Brown from the Raiders. Their only real question for the Patriots is, like, listen, they can make all these moves. They can have all these players, all these weapons. But as long as Cam's under center, the ceiling for them is 9 wins, in my opinion. That, to me, his ability to be a legitimate, franchise quarterback days are well over. He can't throw anymore. I wouldn't trust him. I feel like that if the Patriots are really serious about contending in the AFC East, they're still third. They're third right now according to the odds at +375 to win the division, behind Miami, behind Buffalo, obviously. And as long as Cam's the quarterback, I don't think they're a threat to do anything significant in the AFC.
I completely agree with you, and I tweeted something like that yesterday, and I did not know that Cam Newton Twitter existed. And I spent all day dealing with buffoons trying to tell me that Cam Newton was a good quarterback still. I had one person tell me that Cam Newton's better than Aaron Rodgers right now, and it was just the fact that his team stunk and the talent around him stunk, and I had to end the conversation right there. So I'm with you. I don't think Cam Newton's very good at this point of his career. Yeah, I'm with you. The Patriots are going to be better, and their ceiling rides with Cam Newton. If he's healthy for 16 games and he can throw the football again, then maybe they have a chance to be decent. But the truth is, last year he wasn't able to throw the football consistently more than 5 yards downfield. And when you play in a tiny little box like that, who knows? I mean, your offense is so predictable. Everyone knows what you're going to do. I expect Belichick to kind of zag against the NFL. I think they're going to run the ball a ton. And it's going to be tough. But I like them more than the Dolphins. I don't like them more than the Bills.
So we'll see how that pans out for Mr. Belichick. So Tom Brady, by the way, Buccaneers brought everybody back. They're going forward again. Brady tweeted out his phone number, and I obviously had to oblige and try to see what what the whole shtick was about. And the way it played out was you text Brady and you get an immediate response. What's up? It's Tom Brady. And then he follows up again, save my contact. And then I asked him a question and never heard back. The question I asked him was, how much satisfaction did you get winning without Belichick on a scale of 1 to 10? And he never responded. So that was my Tom Brady phone number experience. I would say the overall experience is a scam, and don't waste your time texting with the great Thomas Edward Brady Jr.
JJ Watt did that. It's never actually them. It's just some system. It's
I know.
A money grab. I don't know how they do it.
The fact that he listen, I love Tom. He's my hero. But when you do that, I think that hurts your credibility a little bit. But again, it's Tom Brady. He can do whatever he wants, and just unfortunate that had to happen. Moving on to the New York Football Jets. So they signed Corey Davis, the wide receiver from the Titans. By the way, one of my favorite props for the NFL last season was Corey Davis under receptions. Just seeing him on the bench of my fantasy team and the satisfaction I got every week after not playing him was big. And I signed Carl Lawson, the pass rusher. Major rumblings about Juju Smith-Schuster possibly heading for the Jets. And I think if the Jets end up signing Juju, I think what that shows is that they're sticking with Donald for another year and that they are either trading back from the number 2 pick or they are taking Penei Sewell, because that's the biggest area of need that they haven't addressed yet. And Sewell paired with Becton would create an elite offensive line tandem. And then you have your wide receiver trio of Mims, Schuster, and
Davis.
And what's his name? Corey Davis and Crowder. That's a pretty solid receiving core that can be at least somewhat of a threat on the offensive side of the ball.
Can I make your day real quick, Frank?
Sure.
The Jets are going to trade down and still take Sewell.
No, they're not, because the Bengals know that he's not falling past the Bengals unless you think the Jets trade back a spot. There's no way Penei Sewell doesn't. If he's there at 5, the Bengals are taking him. That's a lot.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Bengals took Jamar Chase, but I think the Falcons and the Jets are going to end up trading picks. I think the Jets are going to move back from 2 to 4. Yeah. The Falcons will.
What basis do you have for that at all?
To take their choice of quarterback. To take their choice, whoever they feel is the second best quarterback in this draft behind Trevor Lawrence, you have to get the 2 to get, because I think, and we've seen Schefter tweeted the other day, Schefter thinks there's going to be 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 6. So if you want your guy, there's no guarantee at 4 you're going to get your guy. You're going to have to wait. So we will see. But I think the Jets are going to get Sewell at some point, and I think they're going to trade back, which would be the best case scenario for you.
I think Sewell is by far, he's the guy that you like. I mean, listen, we'll play this back in a year or 2, and
Sewell's the guy I wanted for the Giants the whole year. So you're preaching to the choir here. I am all on the Sewell bandwagon.
Listen, I say that, and I'll say I want Penei Sewell, and you wake up in a year or 2, and Zach Wilson is better than Patrick Mahomes, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. So I mean, listen, the draft is one of the most inexact sciences. If there was an answer, then no team would ever miss in the draft. And
Belichick even sucks at drafting. So if he's not good at it, no one is.
So that's the status of the New York Football Jets. Meanwhile,
the Giants are a different story, brother.
The Giants gave Leonard Williams a 3-year, $63 billion extension, which means that he's got his money, which means he'll stop trying. They also signed John Ross. They're linked to Kenny Galladay. They let Dalvin Tomlinson walk. Not very familiar with him. I just saw Giants fans tweeting about it, what the hell.
Tomlinson's very good. He was really good. But they've invested so much on the defensive line that losing Tomlinson makes sense. They just couldn't pay everybody. If they don't get Galladay, this offseason is a complete waste for the Giants. They would not have improved at any of the positions that they significantly needed to improve at to take that next step forward in this offense's progression, and especially in Daniel Jones's progression. Now, I still think if they sign Galladay, they should be in the market for a receiver at number 11 in the draft. I still think one of those guys will be there, and if they are, it's a no-brainer. You pull the trigger. But this whole free agency swirl with the Giants depends on them getting Kenny Galladay. And I do not want to overpay for him. But at this point, I think you have to, because you've missed everyone else. You have put all your eggs in the Galladay basket. And if he's not the grand prize you come away with, it's like striking out in baseball. You leave with nothing. So it terrifies me. He's probably going to get $20 million, which I think is way too much for Galladay. But I don't know what other option they have at this point besides breaking the bank for him. Because John Ross is not the answer.
I mean, the grand scheme of things, John Ross, I feel like might as well have been a Giant for like forever. Maybe who was the other one? The Giant, Aaron Ross is who the Giants.
Aaron Ross, yeah.
But either way, as long as Daniel Jones for me, like the Giants, the sooner the Giants realize that he's not the answer, the better off they'll be. Because in my opinion, he'll never be a guy that gets the Giants to where they want to go.
Yeah, I want to see him healthy for a year with a decent offensive line and a running game, which he hasn't had yet. But time is ticking. If you don't show improvement by year 3, I mean, look at Sam Darnold. You could be in the market again for another quarterback before your extension even kicks in. So the Giants have to find out this year, is Jones our guy, or do we need to start looking for our next guy? And I don't think it's fair to evaluate a quarterback who's that young without putting him in a position to succeed. Galladay helps them get towards that position to succeed. They need to solidify that offensive line. Letting Zietler go, I didn't love because he was their best offensive lineman. I know they needed to do it financially to get Leonard Williams under cap and create enough cap space for Galladay, but they have to do something to put Jones in a position to succeed. That's the only way to get a real evaluation of what you have in your third-year starter.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, and the other NFC East team that I thought had a really good chance to win the division, but now I'm not so sure, was Washington football team. I thought they were like,
you don't love Fitzmagic?
He's never been in the playoffs. I mean, what are they doing? Why would they sign him? Like, you could have done so much better. Whether it was
what other options were out there though?
I mean, I thought
he's not great. I agree, but what other options they have?
Much more in on Stafford. They should have try to do anything possible to try to. They should be the lead. They should have been the leaders for the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mean, come on, like Ron Rivera should know better at this point. Fitzpatrick is the most hot and cold Jekyll and Hyde quarterback in the history of the league. He'll throw 6 touchdowns one week. He'll throw 8 interceptions the next week. He's incapable of putting like a stretch of games together that is solid. He's just incapable of doing it. And I'm just surprised that these teams keep giving him chances. I mean, how much more do we have to see from Ryan Fitzpatrick before we conclude that he is not the guy that can lead you to where you want to go? It is absolutely ridiculous. And in terms of the NFC East, that's a huge step back for Washington. And it's sort of hard to say how exactly this division is going to play out. I don't think it's the Giants. The Cowboys with Dak have one playoff win during his whole tenure there.
No, definitely not them.
It's so hard to say that right now. I mean, Philly with Jalen Hurts, how good are they going to be? They just released Alshon Jeffrey.
I think it's less of. I mean, no, it's not the Eagles. It's not the Giants. I think the Redskins, the Washington football team. Excuse me. The Washington football team. Not the R words. I apologize to anyone out there. That still is just a Freudian slip. But you re-sign Heineke. If you're Washington, bring in Fitzpatrick. You have a legitimate battle now. And Fitzpatrick isn't great. We could all agree on that. But the one thing that he is elite at is being a locker room guy and a mentor to young quarterbacks. So you may not get a full season of Fitzmagic, but you will get at least a guy who can take Heineke under his wing and maybe help him develop into whatever you have. And I still think they might draft a quarterback. Like, I don't think they're out of the quarterback market yet just because they signed Fitzpatrick. It's a 1-year deal. He's gone after this year regardless. And that defense is really, really, really good. So, yeah. I like the signing of Curtis Samuel.
I thought if they have like an upper echelon quarterback, that's a team that could probably go to the Super Bowl. I mean, to me, they're, in terms of all around, they are that good. Last NFL team, real quick, the Chicago Bears apparently went all in and tried to get Russell Wilson. Seahawks were not trading them. They settled for the great Andy Dalton. I mean, the Bears are just a complete joke of a franchise. There are 2 quarterbacks on the roster, Nick Foles and Andy Dalton right now. I don't know what's going to happen with Mitch Trubisky, but if you have Andy Dalton, if you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, that is a bridge to nowhere. Dalton's good enough to win you 6 or 7 games, but that's his ceiling, and it's really unfortunate for Bears fans, and just going to be another long year for the Chicago fan base.
I love it because Bears fans have been so tortured by quarterbacks that even the mention of Russell Wilson saying, I would go to Chicago, was the greatest quarterback moment the franchise has ever had. Just being mentioned in a tweet by Schefter that Wilson was interested in joining the Bears as a possible trade destination was the pinnacle of their quarterback hierarchy and success the last couple of years. Dalton is such a fall off. I mean, if Wilson is the top prize, then Dalton is barely above the basement. It's that big of a drop off. Him and Nick Foles combined. And would you rather have Fitzpatrick and Heineke or Dalton and Nick Foles? Because I'd rather have Fitzpatrick and Heineke 100 out of 100 times.
I mean, at this rate, I would start high. I wouldn't even bother with Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick is an emergency guy. If your team is just, you have nowhere else to turn, and you know that. He's one of the more better backups in the sense that he can come in and at least be somewhat competent for a game or two. But that's the ceiling for Fitzpatrick right now. Dalton, it's over. Sorry, it's over.
I agree. They're going to go 7-9 again. Give you just enough hope that they might be in the playoffs, might be frisky enough to win a game, and then they're just going to collapse down the stretch and disappoint everyone again. And I enjoy, as a fan of Part of My Take, I enjoy Big Cat's freakouts over the Bears. So the more distressed he gets, the more I laugh at the gym. So I'm sorry to other Chicago fans, and I don't wish fan misery on anyone, but I do enjoy those miserable Monday mornings after Dalton throws 4 interceptions and Nick Foles clearly looks incompetent under center.
All right, Mike, that is everything from me. Some of you have something before we go?
Yes, Franco, I need you to add in elevator music. Give me 1 second. One of our most loyal listeners, a weekly listener to the Lucas and Lucas podcast, a sports savant, and someone who has been dying to share a take with you for a while. So I would like to introduce you now to Miss Kelly Engler, a veterinarian student at Texas A&M, and the #1 Lucas and Lucas podcast fan in the world. So, Kelly, would you like to hop on and share your take with Frank?
Hello.
Yeah, you got to sit half a chair.
I thought it was a podcast.
This is.
Don't y'all doesn't it just sound?
No. Well, tell Franklin your take. This is
okay.
This is your moment. This is your moment.
Hello. I believe that Stephen A. Smith is the most captivating sportscaster of all time, and everything he says is true.
You think everything he's all right? Well,
everything.
Here's what you have to know about Stephen A. Smith is incredible talking about the NFL, and he is really good talking about the NBA. Every other subject is, I would say, he is at subpar at best.
What else is there?
Stephen A. is he puts on a shtick. He's just trying to rile people up. He talks about the Cowboys all the time. He talks about the same 5 subjects every day.
But
I can only handle Stephen A. Smith in small doses because I just get tired of the act. The 2 best sports guys and listen, I listen to a lot. I digest a lot of things. The 2 best are #1 is Bill Simmons, and I will take that to my grave. And #2 is Colin Cowherd. He is so thought provoking, and those are the 2 best in terms of trying to learn more about the sporting world and getting informative, intelligent takes, not just screaming at the top of my lungs and without sort of a legitimate basis for what you have to say.
I actually find that approach really captivating, though, because I'm not one who cares about sports. And so when I'm, sitting on the couch here, the ESPN is on and Luke is doing his, whatever routine. And I'm just on my phone. The first time I ever saw Stephen A. Smith on the TV, I just stopped everything I was doing. And it was like finding God, really.
In terms of charisma, you won't find a more charismatic sports analyst than Stephen.
For people who don't like sports. For people who don't
for even people that like sports, Stephen A. is the most charismatic dude in the world.
Yeah.
Frankel, there's a lot of Stephen A. Smith in Frankel, for being honest.
When Stephen A. walks into a room, when he is in your presence, you could feel it. There's an aura around him. I've been in the same room as Stephen A. I've stood next to Stephen A. You feel it. It is something that is real. He has a really, really strong presence around him. It's very intimidating, honestly. And it's and that's part of what makes him really good. But in terms of just him saying things and how legitimate they are, listen, he's funny, he's entertaining, but in terms of what he says having legitimate meaning and making me think about sports in a different way, he's just funny. He's just funny and entertaining, and in terms of his informative sports takes, and they are what they are. And listen, this is all subjective, and it's to each his own.
All right, so we'll end it on this. This is your first time meeting Frank. Do you think Frank is a little bit like Stephen A?
I would say the Jewish version, of Stephen A. Smith.
I didn't tell her you were Jewish, Frank.
No, you did. You definitely.
She got the Jewish to the Zoom, bro.
Well, you said 6, so I figured.
I've always been compared to more of the Skip Bayless and Mad Dog Russo, more so than you probably know. If you don't know, more so than
she has no idea, bro. She has no idea. Yeah. She won't even watch my sports stuff. She only watches Stephen A.
Yeah.
Yeah. If all you watch is Stephen A, I suggest you probably switch that up. Stephen A.
Well.
All right, that'll do it. End the podcast, Frank.
Take care, everybody.